Light slashes across the varnished floor as the door clicks shut, and in that single ordinary sound, everything tilts. A lone basketball rolls once, twice, and stops against the line where practice circles fade into dust. The gym breathes around him, a long, hollow exhale that swallows his name. He presses his back to the cool wood, palms flat against the grain, feeling the tiny ridges under his fingers like a map. The air tastes like old varnish and sunlight. His chest is tight, like someone has wrapped a hand around it and learned the shape of fear. Outside, laughter breaks into pieces and falls away. It bounces off the lockers and becomes something sharp in the hall, something not meant for him. On his wrist, a broken watch keeps pretending to tell time. The glass is cracked where a fist once hit it, the strap frayed, and inside, tiny hands have stopped at a meaningless minute. He touches it as if it is a small, stubborn prayer. In his pocket, a folded photograph makes a square against his thigh. Two blurred faces at a picnic, someone smiling like sunlight. He thinks of that smile until the gym's echo shrinks it down to air. Light moves slowly here, like a story told too quietly. Dust dances in the beams, tracing the path of his breath. He hears his own heart as a soft drum. He traces the scuff marks on the floor with his eyes. Old scores of games nobody remembers, names carved in the bench, initials that mean more than the adults who made them. Every mark is a small proof that this place held life once, that it could hold life again. He sits on the polished wood, knees pulled in, and lets himself be small for a moment. Not because he wants to be, but because the world outside has decided what he is. An easy target. A joke tightened into a circle of shoving shoulders and cruel grins. The shove happened fast. The lock slid with a casual cruelty. They left with the same jokes they always use like knives, thinking the silence behind the door will stitch itself back together. Above the court, a shadow lingers in a high window. For a beat, the camera does not name it. It only recognizes attention. A pair of eyes, a silhouette against the sun, hands folded in front like someone holding a memory. The watcher is not a hero painted in a single stroke. They are a weathered face and a slow, careful habit of seeing what others ignore. Their presence is a thin, steady line across the wide, empty gym. He breathes in again, and a memory surfaces. A small kitchen with a narrow radio playing. A voice teaching him how to tie a knot. A warm hand lifting his chin. The memory is not loud. It is a steady pulse that keeps him from dissolving. He presses the photograph to his chest and imagines the person in it smiling back. Not because the world is easy, but because holding on is an act of speed and stubbornness. The watch ticks in his ear, or maybe that's his heartbeat. Time is strange here, stretched, focused, folded into waiting. He stands slowly, testing the door as if movement could persuade metal to be kinder. The handle refuses. He looks up once, toward the high window where the shadow lingers, and for the first time since the door closed, he feels a small, foreign thing. Not hope, not yet. But the beginning of being noticed. But someone was standing above the court, watching everything they thought they'd hidden. He hugs his knees and listens to the building breathe. Time wrinkles into small, measured slices. A slow scrape of a janitor's cart in a distant corridor. The hollow clack of a locker door, somewhere down the hall. A bell that tolls without promise. The gym becomes a small planet where his heart is the only engine. Light moves across the wood in slow, decisive lanes. He traces one with his fingertip, following the grain as if it might point him towards something kinder. The photograph in his pocket warms against his thigh, as if the skin remembers a touch. He opens it just enough to see the corner, a smear of laughter in the background, an arm thrown across a shoulder. His chest loosens for a breath. Memory works like a match. It only needs a small strike to flare. Above the court, the watcher does not hurry. They walk the building like someone who knows every creak and the stories they hide. Keys hang from a ring. Many rings, each with its own story of doors opened and closed. The watcher's hand lingers on them, like someone feeling the weight of a decision. There is no grand posture, only a weathered back, shoulders used to carrying things that do not fit into one day. The gym's silence presses on the boy until he begins to name the small things out loud inside his head. He counts the floorboards, names the lines, catalogs the scuff marks, as if naming them anchors them to reality. He remembers the promise he once made to himself, to never let other people write the end of his story. The promise is a thin thread, but it is honest. Outside, the laughter frays into something crueler. Footsteps pause in the corridor and then retreat, leaving the lock's scrape echoing like a final joke. He presses his cheek to the cool floor and breathes in dust and sunlight. The air tastes like waiting. He tries the door again, softer now, as if politeness could unfasten metal. It remains closed. Above, the watcher turns away from the window for a heartbeat, and in that small motion, their face reveals a worn map, a faded scar, a photo tucked into a wallet, a bronze nameplate polished by habit. The camera does not explain, it only lingers on the hand that closes around the keys with quiet intent. There is a weight behind that motion, a past that taught them how to notice and what noticing can mean. A janitor's cart squeaks as it rounds a corner. The watcher intercepts the cart with a small, practiced motion and lays a hand on the janitor's shoulder, not to order, but to ask. The janitor nods once. His nod is a small permission, a shared understanding preserved in two tired faces. No words are heard, only the shuffle of shoes and the soft click of a radio tuned low. Down in the gym, the boy hears the faintest sound. Keys, distant and precise, like a heartbeat that has decided to come closer. He presses the photograph to his chest and thinks of the person in it, smiling the way sunlight can fill a room. His fingers tighten as footsteps approach the far door. Each step is a slow promise, a decision moving through space. He does not know who is coming, only that the sound carries something different this time. Not laughter, not indifference, but the measured weight of someone who has seen too many small cruelties and chosen, finally, not to look away. He reaches for the photo. Somewhere above the court, a hand closes around a set of keys. The keys sound like a small apology as they swing through the air. They land in a palm that is steady, not loud, a hand that knows how to open things without making a ceremony of it. The watcher comes down the stairs with shoes that scuff familiar wood, with shoulders that carry a long, quiet habit of deciding to do what small kindness asks. The gym smells different when someone else fills it, less like empty echo and more like a place about to be used. The door opens not with a shout but with a soft, deliberate push. Light spills in and finds the boy on the floor first, a dark shape against the bright lines. He blinks at the sudden change, as if the room has learned to breathe again. The watcher steps inside, and the sound of footsteps is not a threat, it is arrival. For a beat, the space holds its breath with them both. The watcher does not make a speech, they do something quieter. They kneel so their face is level with his, and they slide an old, careful hand across the varnished floor until it touches the boy's shoulder. The touch is not pity. It is the map of someone who has learned that presence is the truest kind of answer. The boy lets his fingers unbunch from around the photograph and shows it without asking. The watcher studies the edge of the picture like a language they are still learning, and then, as if remembering their own lost things, they reach into a pocket and lay a small scrap of paper beside the photograph. A note that reads like a promise, not a lecture. Outside, the corridor shifts. The bullies stand framed in a doorway, small and suddenly public. Their laughter has nowhere to hide. A teacher passes, eyes catching the scene, and somewhere a supervisor's footsteps quicken. Consequences do not have to be dramatic to be real. An admonition, a list of calls, a quiet record kept. The gym knows how to hold memory. It keeps the scrape of feet and the hush of someone embarrassed, and later, the quiet mending. The boy stands because his legs decide to. He is not lifted, he rises. That small human action is victory enough. The broken watch changes hands in a way that matters. The watcher takes it, studies the cracked glass, and then sets it aside on the bench with gentle care, as if placing a wounded thing where it can be seen and fixed. They do not promise to fix everything. They promise to be there to look. The photograph slips back into his pocket, warmer now. The thing in his chest that has been folded small begins to unfold. Days follow like small, honest marches. The owner arranges for a counselor to stop by. A coach offers extra practice time. A neighbor mentions a summer job that pays in steady hours and new shoes. The boy starts coming to the gym, not because he must, but because it calls to him. The lines on the floor become roots rather than traps. He dribbles with a new softness, practicing a form he never showed anyone. The watcher paints a fresh line across the court one afternoon, hands in paint and sleeves rolled, and the boy watches as if witnessing a small prayer being answered. The town does not change overnight. People keep their habits, but small things shift. A teacher leans in to read an essay. A shopkeeper offers a free loaf when money is thin. The boy's name is said with less hurry and more hearing. Where once a door closed and left a bruise, now doors open and stay open long enough for the light to settle. He learns a new way to tell time, not by the broken hands on his wrist, but by the hours he keeps showing up. The watcher, who once stood only to see, becomes someone who stays. They do not wear a cape. They bring keys, a steady watchfulness, and the memory of a person who once needed noticing too. He thought the door closing was the end. It becomes the place where someone finally saw him. Sometimes, the smallest hand that reaches toward you is the one that teaches you how to stand.